Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and happy Saturday to all of you here. I hope you're enjoying a wonderful weekend, and if this means complete relaxation and chill time for you, then I hope you're enjoying complete relaxation and chill time. If this means you're getting caught up on other projects, well, then hopefully you're enjoying that and doing what you need and want to do. And I hope that you're having fun. Yeah. Today's live stream's kind of about fun. It is very celebratory. And it's very celebratory. And A Course in Miracles has moments like this. So we'll be going through lesson 75 in the workbook for students today. And first of all, I want to bring up a topic that we've brought up here and we've talked about here on the live, and that is the central notion of forgiveness as it's presented in A Course in Miracles. So if you have caught some of the past live streams, I've talked about this before here because it has been presented as our function as the light of the world in various contexts here in the workbook as workbook ideas. And today's idea talks about forgiveness extensively, very, very in depth and extensively. And we're only on lesson 75 out of 365. So if you haven't seen this before or gone through it before, you can bet that it's coming up again. Why? Because it's fundamental. It's fundamental to A Course in Miracles, and it's very important to us in terms of our own spiritual development, whether you follow this particular path or whether you don't, or whether this is something that you use to augment your walk or your own practice in another realm of spirituality. Ultimately, it's all the same because really we are actually all one deep down. So, whatever the practice looks like, forgiveness as it is put forth in A Course in Miracles has a different meaning. So, it's worth another quick explanation here. It really is worth the explanation because in the world, we tend to think of forgiveness as in the context of someone transgressing us, somebody doing wrong or harm to us. And then as the one that has harm done, we have a choice as to whether we'll forgive this person or not. So the way that the world tends to view it, there's all kinds of holes in it. And it's not a complete loving act why the world cherishes what A Course in Miracles calls a belief in sin, in other words, transgression, an assumption, a fundamental assumption, which we see in this process as an error, in fact, the fundamental assumption that we have an individual self that someone else can offend because they're a separate self and we're separate from them. So one of us can harm another, one of us can transgress another. And the Course refers to that as sin, which, of course, follow that is worthy of punishment in our eyes. So whether you consider yourself a spiritual or religious person or not, this is the way the world views it. I mean, if you're not comfortable with the word sin, no problem. Take it out, call it something else. But we tend to want to get revenge on each other in the world. We get hurt. We do. Someone says something or does something, we get hurt. And there is a tendency that exists in all of us to want to get back at that person. So in this context, we could choose to forgive them. And what happens then? What's the problem with that? It's not complete because it's not a completely loving act. Why is it not? Because the person that does the forgiving in this context tends to hold it over the other person's head. Yeah. Have you ever had this happen to you? And maybe it was your mother or one of your parents that technically forgave you, yet held what you did over your head for a long time, years maybe? How'd that make you feel? Well, what tends to happen there is someone tends to feel superior. The other person tends to feel inferior. Quite simply, that's the way that the world views forgiveness, and someone sees themselves as superior, as a wonderful, beautiful being, and in their infinite grace and wisdom, they've deigned to forgive us our transgressions. Yeah, that's the way the world views it. Course in Miracles, differently, very differently. A Course views things, people's actions in the world, as one of two things. One, an extension of love, or two, a call for love. So any what we would consider bad behavior is, in fact, a call for love. Whether it appears to be large or whether it appears to be small, it's a call for love. Therefore, what's the appropriate response? The appropriate response to a call for love is to extend love. Now, why is that important? Well, because in doing that, we're overlooking this whole notion of sin, of punishment. We're looking right past that. We really are. That's what happens in forgiveness as it is talked about and practiced in A Course in Miracles. It's fundamentally different. And when we forgive in this way, we're seeing things differently. We're seeing other people differently. We're seeing ourselves differently. And it is a different way of looking at everything, literally, at all things. And that is what is meant by forgiveness here in A Course in Miracles, is not the limited edition that the world proffers and that we have unwittingly fallen into time and again, where someone's out to hold forgiveness over someone's head and the other person's out to exact revenge. I mean, what happens when you feel inferior and you're holding a grudge against somebody? Well, it continues the cycle of violence, doesn't it? It continues the cycle of attack and ill will. Yeah. And we don't have to think too hard about that because we can see plenty of examples of that in our daily lives. So forgiveness here in A Course in Miracles, totally different thing. So what happens when you forgive? Well, you begin to feel lighter. I can say that from personal experience, and my biggest forgiveness story with A Course in Miracles, which I've been practicing since 2013, came with my own mother. Now, maybe some of you can relate to this because a lot of things happen in a family unit, don't they? But my mother, who passed in 2016, was a very hardcore alcoholic and a very mean drunk. Now, it is what it is, right? I know a number of you have experienced direct firsthand experience with someone like this in your life, whether it's a friend or a partner or a family member. It might even be yourself, right? Yeah, maybe even you. So there was a lot of forgiveness that needed to be done there for decades of abuse. It was not easy growing up in that household, and it continued to not be easy as an adult. So, with the assistance of this text, with the assistance of the workbook, and with the guidance of A Course in Miracles, I was able over time to blanket completely forgive decades worth of transgressions. Now, what does that mean? Because you may find yourself thinking, okay, well, I'm afraid to forgive people, or I can't forgive people, or I can't forgive the world or certain situations because it's too egregious, for one, right? Or it's too close, maybe, or you're worried that it's going to enable the behavior. So what I did is I forgave with boundaries. Actually, it enabled me, practicing forgiveness as A Course in Miracles teaches it, enabled me to set very healthy boundaries and limitations, such as, thou shalt not do this, I will not do this, here are my limitations. in our communication, in behavior. In other words, it looked like I'm not calling you after a certain time. I won't pick up the phone after a certain time. And if there's any abusive language or anything, communication's off. And yeah, that sort of thing. And you know, it's actually quite a bit more extensive than that. So if you've ever had to set these boundaries with a friend or a family member or a partner, a spouse, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It is not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do, and it's a process. And a lot of people are, frankly, afraid to forgive, which is fine, because they believe, there's a belief that it's going to allow the egregious behavior to continue. Well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. You can set healthy boundaries. And the forgiveness, the basic fundamental forgiveness, enabled me to do that. I felt lighter, more in control of my own life, much more adult. And I was in my 40s. I'm still in my 40s, barely, only just, right? Yeah. So, this was several years ago, and it was a decades long process. But when I finally made the decision to do this, then everything cleared up. My relationship with her cleared up. I mean, she passed away 5 years ago, but things got immensely better from my end. I felt lighter, much more in control of life, more healed, much more healed, more healing, more able to heal and extend love. So the benefits, if you've done this, you'll know the benefits of this type of deep level forgiveness are tremendous. It's part of our own awakening to the truth of who we really are. It's part of awakening to love right there. And lesson 75 in the workbook has everything to do with this. This is more of a celebratory lesson today. And the idea is the light has come. Quite simple. That's it. The light has come. Now, it never went anywhere. This is the beauty of who we really are, is that we're not broken. We've never been broken. Now, we've run off and thought we were a disaster. Yeah, devastated and totally broken, but we've never been broken. The light has always been here, and what we're doing with each act of forgiveness, with each prayer, with each loving, kind act, whatever that looks like, with each day, each moment of spiritual practice and awareness and mindfulness, we're peeling back layers. And we find that they're really easy to peel back if we want to. We're uncovering things and unlearning. Spirituality, you may have heard this, is a lot about unlearning the bad habits that we've acquired by making the fundamental mistake of associating ourselves with the ego. In other words, thinking we're separate from our source. Because we're not. We're not. And the light has come. It's always been there. We're awakening, or if you prefer, reawakening to that. This is all about experience. So today's idea involves several meditations where we allow this truth to permeate our minds and our being and our experience. We allow it to inform our experience and then become our experience. It has everything to do with having forgiven the world. So while we're on the subject of forgiveness, I mentioned earlier that a lot of people withhold forgiveness because something so egregious has happened that they find that they're not in a position right now to forgive. And that's absolutely fine, by the way. This is something that happens for each of us when the time is right, when the causes and conditions are ripe, when you're ready to do that. Now, when you are ready to do that, we've talked about some of the benefits. They're powerful. They're life-changing, literally. And if you're not, then I recommend, and I just think it's really important that we start with what we can do. If you can forgive yourself for being 1 minute late to a Zoom meeting yesterday, do that. Right? I mean, that might even be hard. I don't know, but start with smaller things. And if it seems outlandish or a stretch to you to forgive everyone in the world of everything and forgive the world itself, then you don't have to start with that. But I will tell you that when you are able to extend forgiveness on that level, it's a whole nother ballgame. Life is fundamentally changed and it's fundamentally different, and it's beautiful. So we'll come back again several times here as we go through the workbook to the notion of forgiveness. It's very central to the foundation of A Course in Miracles and to this philosophy. And if you think about it, whether you follow this path or not, it's true. Either we're extending love or we're calling out for it. What we consider bad behavior, attention-getting behavior, is a call for love. I mean, think of a little kid who misbehaves and then throws things or hits another child. They want attention. Yeah, it's a call for love. It's a call for love. Even when somebody knows that the reaction they're going to get is going to be violent or adverse or not necessarily loving, they're still calling out for love. So it's a beautiful thing to extend forgiveness. So let's see if you have any comments or questions here. This is one of the things that I really enjoy, is being able to interact with everybody here live on Enlightened World Network. And it looks like we've got a couple of people joining us here today. So if you have any questions here during the live stream, feel welcome to type them in to the comments, say hello. I appreciate all the hearts, right? The likes, the comments, shares, everything. And again, this is typically a daily live stream. I am not going to be here tomorrow, so I will return to this live stream on Monday. And I invite you to, as always, check the show guide in Enlightened World Network's Facebook page. That's the best place to find all of the show times for the day. It's something that they post every day here. And it's just, it's a lot of fun for me to be sharing this experience with you, because honestly, there's nothing special about me here, really. There's not. I am just a guy who has made some decisions to forgive. I have made decisions to choose love. And the more that I do that, the better I feel, the happier I am, and the the deeper my connections to everybody, to everything get. This is the beauty of spiritual practice, is there are so many benefits that it's absolutely amazing. And it's just one of these things that I've always been attracted to. And you have been too, if you're watching this, especially here on Enlightened World Network. So again, I will not see you tomorrow, but I will be back here on Monday. And what we're doing next week is we're continuing with the ideas in the workbook for students. And then next Saturday, 1 week from today, on May 1st, I've got a very special guest for you. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. All right, because I do have special guests here at another one in 1 week next Saturday. So I'll see you all on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.